Hey, everybody. How are you? Good afternoon or morning or evening, depending on where in the world you are. And thank you for joining me. So, it has been a while, and I have been down for the count a bit. That thing that everybody is talking about the last couple of years, well, it finally got me. I thought I was going to escape it, but no such luck. I was at a speaking event in Houston, and there were almost 1,000 people there. And you know, we've got to end the custom of shaking hands. I'm telling you, folks, handshaking. It's an old idea. It feels good to do it, but it's just got to end. That's the way we all get it, right? We get the flu, we get colds, we get this other thing, that everybody's talking about. So I got it, and I was down for the count for a couple of days, for sure. Pretty rough couple of days, but well, let me tell you about it. I'll just tell you about it here rather than going off the cuff. So let me share a couple things with you. So in terms of a few visuals, a few slides, here's the event I was at. I was in Houston, and yesterday, I guess, brain is a little foggy still. So I'll go out of order here. But yesterday, I got these monoclonal antibodies. Our great governor here set that up and made it available all over the state of Florida, where people can just get this treatment for free. Really, really cool. I got the Regeneron treatment, and I don't know if it helped or anything. Something else helped, and I'm going to tell you about that. So, uh, yeah. Let me get it here. It's handy. I gotta get this so I can show it to you. So anyway, I got the treatment yesterday, and I want to say a big thank you to Ashley for setting that up. It was not easy to do. She spent hours on the phone. Originally, the only location we could find was like 7 hours from my house, and that was a little far. But she found one really close by, and an appointment opened up, and she got me in there, and I got the antibody treatments yesterday. It was kind of a surreal experience. You basically go into this gymnasium at a park and recreation center, and they're really nice. I mean, it's a government run thing, but they were really nice and hospitable, and it made me want to compare it to a typical airline, which they're not nice or hospitable, right? So the first thing you do when they do when you walk in is they give you a goodie bag. Okay, a goodie bag. Yeah, nice goodie bag here. And inside the goodie bag, got some legal papers, of course, and you got a nice big bottle of water, and then some treats. Yeah, can you believe it? Better than the treats on the airline. Crackers, a Nutri-Grain bar, all of this stuff, and none other than a branded mask. All right, yeah. So that's what they give you, and then they take you over to a bunch of boxes and baskets, and they say, "Hey, pick out some more treats if you want them." And then you go in, you show them your test result that I went and got tested, and it said, "Yes, you got it." And so I showed them that, and they sat me down, asked me a few questions, took the blood pressure, no temperature actually, but did the oxygen saturation. Which, by the way, this little thing, this oximeter, I have one of these already, but of course I couldn't find it when I needed it the other day. So I bought another one, and this is something you should definitely buy for your house. These are, you can get them as cheap as $16. Many of them are $20. There are more expensive ones, but I don't know why you'd need one. And it just allows you to test how well your blood is assimilating the oxygen, right? And this is something definitely you want to have. Everybody should have one of these in their house, because I really wish I had it when I was laying in bed, and I was wondering why I would feel winded to just go upstairs or downstairs, right? And it was kind of amazing, right? How weak I was, so weak. And anyway, this came kind of on the last day, and I was able to test it. But what I noticed, which is interesting, is as I started testing, the number just literally progressively went up. It got better. My blood was assimilating the oxygen better and better and better. And, I would have really liked to have known what the number was when I was feeling really, really bad. So definitely get one of these, $20, give or take. And, you put your finger in it, and you definitely should own one of these, as well as some other medical stuff. I just think that our healthcare system is so awful. I mean, it's just terrible. And I'm not recommending a government run healthcare system, because that would be worse. I mean, people die waiting in line in those systems. We all know those horror stories. But the system we have is also a disaster. And one of the reasons it's such a disaster, and this is not a new opinion, I was saying this way before Obamacare came around, and that is because the consumer is completely detached from the price, right? And when you go to the doctor, you don't know the price of anything, and you don't care either. And what I do is I make it a point to ask these disgusting medical clinics and hospitals and whatever, anybody I'm dealing with, I want to know the price. And they're like, what do you care? And I care because I want to know how much you're ripping off my insurance company is why I care. And they don't even know the price. It's insane. How is it that these companies do not know the price of their frickin' services? It's absurd. This is the biggest scam in history. It is unbelievable that they don't know the price of what they sell. I mean, it's just disgusting. Now, what's interesting is, I had an ear infection a few months ago, and so I went to the ENT doctor, and I called up for a follow-up visit. How much is it? Well, you have insurance. I don't care. How much is it? And I said, what's the cash price? Now, why is there a different cash price than an insurance price? Now, that would be fine if the cash price was higher, but it's actually lower. So it means that they're sticking it to your insurance company, right? So that they get to raise your rates through the roof and give you no benefits, right? The insurance companies suck. Everybody sucks in the system, right? The whole system sucks. Yeah, comment below, by the way. I'd love to hear your stories, your ideas, your thoughts about our disastrous healthcare system, right? It's a freaking mess. But the cash price is lower. Now, I could see the cash price being a little bit lower because that would be fair because, okay, they don't have to process tons of paperwork. Fair enough. That's fair. But yeah, I don't know. It's just, what can I tell you? The whole thing is a disaster. But look, we could easily solve a huge part of the healthcare problem in this country with a couple of simple things. And these are not new ideas. I said these before. And love him or hate him, but the Trumpster, he passed that bill that everybody's got to publish their prices on their websites. Where'd that go? What happened to that? Did Biden overturn that? Was that the first thing he did when he got into office, to screw the American public and screw the insurance companies? Everything should be posted. The price of everything should be posted and clear. And how is it? You've seen these studies, you've heard the stories, you've read the articles about how, if you want to get your knee replaced in one city, the price is massively different than the same exact procedure in another city. Why would that be? I mean, that's just crazy. So all the prices should be posted. And the insurance companies should be allowed to sell insurance nationally across state lines. So there's a more competitive environment. What do you think? What do you think about this? Write your comments in below, because our system is a freaking disaster of epic proportion. Can you tell I'm a little hot about this? Anyway, so I was feeling pretty bad, and I was reluctant, but a lot of people said I should do it. A lot of friends had done it. And I finally broke down and said, I want to just get over this thing. So I went and I borrowed some medicine from my horse. Yeah. And I took a little bit of it out of this tube. It's a gel, and it worked for me. I don't know. I hear there could be all sort of bad side effects. That's what they're saying. But I had to go to the part of the internet that's not controlled by the mainstream big companies that are in on the agenda, right? To watch some videos about it and get a more balanced view. And one of the dangers, the only real danger that I could figure out now, comment below, please. I'm definitely not a doctor, and this is definitely not advice. I'm just telling you my own story. But the only danger I could really figure out is that people could misdiagnose themselves, and if they had meningitis, this stuff I borrowed from the four-legged could cross the blood-brain barrier. I can't even think, the blood-brain barrier, and cause permanent brain damage. Now that would be pretty dangerous. Fortunately, in this part of the world, meningitis is pretty rare. But I do remember a long time ago, a girlfriend of mine had meningitis, and that was when we were much younger. She was like 20. How old was she? She was probably 22, and I was probably 20. Yeah, I used to date older women. See, but yeah. So this stuff I borrowed, yeah, it worked pretty well. I only tried it once. It's kind of lingering now. It seemed like I was really better, and then now I'm not as good now. So we'll see. Maybe I'll try it again. I don't know. But anyway, okay. So what happened? So I went to this event. I spoke at Rebel Capitalist event in Houston, and there were lots of people there, lots of possible infectors. You see them all in the audience here, and it was a big group. Had a great time speaking there. Here I'm on the panel with Ken McElroy, George Gammon, and this is Simon Caron. He's the Uneducated Economist. You might watch his YouTube channel. He's good. And I'm going to have him on my show next week. Had to cancel on him last week because I was sick. And so, yeah, we were on this panel together after my speech and Ken's speech. But it was a great time. It was a big crowd, really good crowd. And I made some predictions, the housing predictions. And by the way, the full-length version of this is on the podcast tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow, Monday, it's on the podcast. And if you want to know what I think is going to happen this year with the housing market and in the next few years, tune in for that. But I'm not going to leave you hanging like that because that wouldn't be very nice. So I'm going to share with you a couple of things that I talked about at the event. So talked about where we are now, and where we are now is here. And what is this chart? Okay, this chart, it is housing inventory. Not a new topic. Everybody's talking about it. We've all heard about it. I got this chart from my friend Mike Simonson at Altos Research. He was on the show recently. You might have heard that podcast episode, or I've seen him on my YouTube channel. Great guy. And this is the way the inventory picture looks. Now, the question you always have to ask with everything is, compared to what? That's the Jason Hartman question, as you like to say, compared to what? And obviously, I did not invent that question, but you've dubbed it the Jason Hartman question because I say it so much. And I believe it is life's most important question. Compared to what? So the housing inventory, we're starting off the year with the lowest inventory on a per capita basis ever since they've been tracking this stuff. Don't ask me how long they've been tracking it. I don't have the exact answer, but I assume sometimes in the 60s or 70s, they really is when they got kind of good at tracking it. Okay. So it's a lot of data. And right now we're looking at less than 300,000 homes for sale. And the experts will tell you that a normal market should have somewhere in the neighborhood of about 1.5 million homes. So here's the compared to what. Just visualize this. Visualize this with me. There it is. The grocery store shelves that are barren, okay? It's like walking into the grocery store and seeing only 1/5 the number of items for sale in the grocery store that you usually see. 1/5. Only 20% of the shelves are stocked. The other 80%, nada, nothing. Where is my spaghetti sauce? Whatever. Where's the whatever I want to buy, right? Because there is a massive shortage of housing. Now, the other question you need to ask yourself is another compared to what question? Because here's the misleading part about this housing inventory stuff. And there are people out there saying that the inventory shortage isn't so bad. Well, guess what? They're sitting at a desk and they are not in the market and they are looking at academic numbers. And this is the danger of this. Now, most people don't say that, okay? But there are a few out there, a few voices, and I got one coming up on my show. I'm going to interview him. I like his work a lot. Listen, I just got some skepticism on some of his latest videos that he's been publishing. So he's coming up. He will remain nameless, but you'll know it when he's on the show. And here's the deal. Here's the deal you got to look at. You've got to segment by price because this inventory shortage is incredibly acute when it comes to starter homes. When it comes to those type of properties, we as investors like to buy as rental properties. That's where the inventory shortage is so acute. Worse than this chart. It's much worse than this. If you're looking at starter homes, if you're looking at workforce housing, if you're looking at the entry-level segment of the market, this is a disaster and a half, okay? Maybe it's a disaster times, well, at least times 5. It's a disaster times many. And maybe it's a disaster times 15. That would be kind of a very back of the napkin estimate because this is so much more acute when it comes to entry level priced homes. And All-Nighter Hider, thank you so much for that comment. Hit the like button, folks. If you like this content and you want us to keep doing it, hey, listen, I could have retired years ago. I don't need to be doing this, but I do love doing it. But if you want me to keep doing it, coming out with more stuff, support the channel, hit the like button. We appreciate that. And be sure to subscribe and turn on your notifications because you know me with my God, I can't even think of the words anymore. Impromptu. This is the problem with this brain fog from the thing that's going around. I don't even want to say the word, the thought police will censor. But yeah, the brain fog, really, it slows you down. Anyway, yeah, it's very impromptu. So if you don't turn on the notifications, then you won't get to interact, right? Because like I'm sure All-Nighter Hider and those others of you who are jumping right on as soon as we go live, you just jump right on. I love it. Love seeing you. And All-Nighter Hider, by the way, was in Houston with us as well. And didn't get to talk to you much there, buddy, but hopefully next time. Anyway, it's maybe good that you didn't because you might have caught this from me. I don't know. I caught it from somebody else. But this is much more acute in the entry-level housing segment. Anyway, long way to say that, right? Okay, let's look at some other stuff. So 1/5 of the groceries on the shelf, we need inventory to increase by 300 to 500% in the overall general housing market. But in the entry-level market, we need it to increase even more. How much more? I would argue that that is probably by 15 times. Yeah, I'm not kidding. Now, the home builders, they're trying to catch up. They are catching up. They're doing some work to try and catch up. But they are not ever going to catch up in the entry-level market. Why? How do I know that? Because they're simply not building those homes. They are just literally not building them. Nada, nothing, not happening. You look at DR Horton and KB Homes, those are the lower priced builders most of the time. Of course, DR Horton at least builds some higher end stuff too, but the bulk of their market is the lower price, and KB Homes definitely the lower price homes. And so thankfully they're out there building stuff and they're big. But hey, an entry level home now, a DR Horton entry level home is over $400,000 in most places. Call that entry level? What happened to the $150,000 home? What happened to a $200,000 house? Good luck. Not out there. Just it's almost non-existent, and it's only going to get worse. So what should you do? Well, you should obviously buy these properties, because you want to buy anything that is becoming more and more rare, because that's going to push the price up. So good for you. That's what our investors do. What we do is we help investors buy properties nationwide in good markets that we recommend, and we help them make a lot of money. And we've made a lot of money for thousands and thousands of people over the years. So definitely go to jasonhartman.com, check out what we have, and we'll be glad to help you and reach out. By the way, in the description below, I've got some good links and resources for you. And one of them is for an event I want you to join us for sure. It is our Creating Wealth live but virtual event. It's coming up in 2 weeks, well, less than 2 weeks, and it's virtual. So you can just join us online, super easy. And we have never done this event virtually before. I have been teaching this event for 18 years. Thousands and thousands of people have come to my Creating Wealth event. I talk a lot about macroeconomics, macro market trends, the mega trends that are shaping the real estate market, shaping the economy, and how you can profit from them. And since this event is virtual, it's also super cheap. It's our cheapest event ever. Okay, we never can do an event this inexpensively. I mean, what are the ticket prices now? Like $147 or $97 or something like that. It's super cheap. Okay. And remember, when you buy a ticket, that's a ticket for your whole household. If it's a live event, not only do you have to travel there, pay for your hotel, but you got to buy a ticket for each person. This is for your entire household. So if you got a family of 10, or you want to have a watch party and invite some friends over, hey, you can all watch. Okay. You can all jump on and join us. So that's the inventory, and join us for that event. Just go to jasonhartman.com for that. But here's another thing I want to tell you. The powers that be, in their infinite wisdom, instead of creating more supply for the housing market, instead of incentivizing the home builders to build more homes, or loosening up the zoning restrictions to make it easier for them to build homes, what did they do? They figured, oh, we don't have enough housing demand. Brilliant. The idiots, right? We don't have enough housing demand, so let's just increase the loan limits. That's what we'll do. We'll take the conventional loans and increase the limit, the Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac loans, by 18%. Now, compared to what? Well, the typical increase that we've seen in the past, it does vary, but is about 7%. So they increased it by more than double, just so home sellers could increase their prices even higher. Duh. How do they not know basic economics? Let me see. It's just like the student loan debt enslavement complex, right? Before the stupid government got involved in insuring and backing student loans in the 70s, college was cheap. Guess what? Colleges had to figure out how to deliver education at low enough prices that people could pay for it without financing it. My mom, when she went to Berkeley, which, arguably liberal disaster, right? But, definitely a good academic school. And at the time she went to Berkeley, one of the best schools in the country for sure. And she just paid for college, right? She had a job and she just paid her way through college. She didn't have to go get a loan and be a debt slave for the next 20 or 30 years. I mean, a whole generation, really a generation and a half now, of people went to college. Many of them were sold stupid, useless liberal arts degrees that they can't do anything with, that no one is hiring for. Imagine this. How many people are hiring for a career in feminist studies? I've never noticed a job posting on Indeed for that, or Craigslist or anywhere else. So yeah. Hey, so you think my volume is low? I can't do anything about it. Okay, maybe I'll speak closer to the microphone. I don't think it's low. I don't know, but thank you, Maria. I'm definitely talking as loud as I can. Let's see here. Is anybody else saying that? You're the only one saying that. So hopefully you can hear me okay. Anyway, you could work your way through college. And it was just normal for people to just pay for college. They wouldn't leave college with a bunch of debt. And now we've got this, generation and a half of people that they got a mortgage, a student loan, but they didn't get a house included with it. It's absolutely criminal what's been done, right? So retract the financing, and guess what? The marketplace, through the beauty of capitalism, will figure out a way to offer things at a lower price. They'll deliver it. They'll figure it out. So the government, in raising these loan limits, is only going to make prices go higher and higher. And FHA, by the way, it's not only conventional loans. FHA, depending on where you live, or where the house is, I should say, more than 15% increase. Now, this is only for owner occupied. But look at this. You can, on an FHA loan, in some areas of the country, you can basically get a $1 million home, pretty much, give or take, $1 million, call it, round numbers, good enough for government work, for 3.5% down. Yep. You buy $1 million home, you put down 35 grand. Why did they have to increase the loan limit? That's just stupidity. Instantaneously, prices will go up 18% for those that get conventional loans, and properties that are more geared toward FHA loans, boom, 15% increase. There we go, right there. So instead of thinking maybe we ought to throw a little water on this fire to cool it down, cool the demand just a bit, and not make the market so imbalanced, but they throw gasoline on the fire. It's just craziness. Now I know what some people are saying. Okay, I know some people are saying, but Jason, I'm trying to buy my first home and it's really expensive, and there are struggling first-time buyers out there that want to get a home. I get it. I completely understand. I feel for you. But just understand the macroeconomics of the problem and why it's that way. The reason it's that way is because of the classic definition of inflation: a limited number of goods and services being chased by a massive tidal wave of money, especially free money at negative interest rates. Tsunami of money, tiny limited supply of houses. What do you think is going to happen? The most basic law of economics is supply and demand. There we go. So, yep. Okay. So last year, what happened? The average homeowner gained $57,000 in equity. Now, granted, that varied a lot state by state. And oops, I thought I had that map in here. I don't. You'll have to check out the YouTube video when we release it, or the podcast tomorrow, where I go into it more, because the full-length version of my speech will be played tomorrow with all of the predictions, and that'll be on the Creating Wealth podcast. So that will be played for you there. But it varied state by state, but overall nationwide, $57,000 in equity increase per homeowner. Now, another thing that's interesting, and I did say this in the speech that you can hear on the podcast tomorrow, is that do you know? Now, this is for the people who think, oh, there's going to be this housing crash. The crash bros. They've been nicknamed the crash bros. Okay, because they've been so wrong. And by the way, I called this correctly. By the way, I mentioned during my talk that I made two incorrect predictions, and I forgot to say what one of them was. I think I forgot. So I'm going to say it now. So my one incorrect prediction that I made years ago that is still just so incorrect that I'm embarrassed, but really I'm not too embarrassed. And that's interest rates. I thought interest rates would be higher by now, but of course, we have a centrally planned economy with, you know, not market forces don't set interest rates like they should. And if market forces set interest rates, they would be quite a bit higher, but they're not because we have the government and the central banks that just can defy gravity and kick the can down the road and create this toxic environment that you'll hear more about on the podcast tomorrow. By the way, that's important that you listen to that. So subscribe to the Creating Wealth podcast to hear more about this. But yeah. So what was I going to say? Oh, my other prediction. By the way, this is the first time you've heard this anywhere. I think I'm wrong about another prediction. You ready for this one? Here is my other wrong prediction. During the pandemic, during the lockdowns, and when things were looking really, really bad for cities, I predicted that people would flee cities and they would move to suburban environments. And I was right about that. I was super right. I mean, the minute things opened up, boom, Americans just moved in the highest numbers ever seen. I predicted that there would be a grapes of wrath style migration, like during the Great Depression. If you read John Steinbeck's book, The Grapes of Wrath, which I read in high school, that was this massive migration, right? And a lot of people went west. They went to California back when California was a good place to go. Now they're going the opposite. But that happened. And I predicted real doom and gloom for New York City. And that has shocked me at how New York City has turned around. I don't know how it's happening. I don't think it's sustainable. But so far, it's looking like I was wrong about New York City. I don't know why anyone would want to live there. It's a ripoff. It's people. Do you know people have much shorter lifespans when they live in cities? I mean, really, if you want to live longer, get out of the city, right? Do not live in a dense urban environment with all that pollution and noise and lack of sleep and all that kind of stuff. I mean, going to those, I love going to those places as long as I don't have to wear one of these dumb things and, be controlled and show my papers to get into our restaurant. God, the stuff that is happening now is stuff we would have thought to be completely crazy and fictional just a couple of years ago. The tyrannical dictators who are running the world are just crazy. I mean, it's just nuts. But yeah, I think I was wrong about New York City. I'm surprised at the resilience of that market. I mean, I was right for a while, and the market just went down the tubes. Rents dropped, prices dropped, everything. But when you pump this much free money into the world, it's going to go somewhere. And one of the places it seems to be going back to, believe it or not, is New York City. I'm shocked. So we'll see. What do you think? Do you think I'm going to do you think I'm really going to be overall wrong about that prediction that New York City is not looking good? I still believe that, but right now it seems to be turning around a bit. Okay, let me get to some of these questions here, and then we will wrap it up because, hey, I got to get back to bed. Okay, what do we have? Hey, thank you for all the comments, folks. By the way, I read all of these, folks, even if I don't get to them on the show. So I appreciate them, and they are always considered. So let's see here. Inflation-induced debt destruction. Yes, Martin, absolutely. Inflation-induced debt destruction. That is what people are taking advantage of like crazy now. Yep, and Tetris, you agree, no more handshaking. Yeah, folks, the handshake is a dinosaur thing. Do you know why the handshake was invented? Do you know why? So that when you greeted a person in the olden days, most people are right-handed, right? You shake with your right hand. So they could see that you didn't have a weapon in your hand. You expose your hand. I don't have a weapon. I'm shaking your hand, right? Hopefully we don't have to worry too much about people having weapons, right? So that's the handshake just has to go. And if you want to be like 10 years younger and cool, like the cool kids, little fist bump, man. I'm hip, cool, fist bump. Okay. And at our virtual event coming up, our Creating Wealth virtual event, we will allow virtual handshakes. We'll recommend that because nobody will get sick with that. Okay. Japanese figured it out. Yes, the Japanese are so polite. I love my visit to Japan, although it's a pretty weird country in a lot of ways, and definitely a great study for economic malaise. But yes, a little Japanese bow, that's nice too. That's very polite. Okay, and feel better. Thank you, Chicken Charlie. Okay. Yep, that's what I got. I'm not even going to say the words. So let's see. Just passed a house in my neighborhood selling for $720,000 for a tiny house lying around the corner for an open house. Yeah, I know. Chicken Charlie, where do you live? Where's your neighborhood? What city are you talking about? Go in Romania. I'm not quite sure what that means, but hey, I've been to Romania. Romania is a super neat country, by the way. It's totally weird, right? Romania is like a contrast because you can be looking at the street, watching what's going by, and you'll see a brand new modern BMW or Mercedes, and then you'll see a horse-drawn wagon, like a really old one. with hay in the back or vegetables or something. Yeah, Romania is a really cool country. Definitely recommend it. I want to get back there and I want to go to Transylvania this time. Okay, so if you have money system in the world best treatment, how do you want? Yeah, well, fair enough. I agree with you there, but you've got to be set up for that. Now, years ago, I used to have a concierge doctor, and I asked Ashley if she would find me one again because, you got to have a concierge doctor, which you shouldn't have to do that though, to get someone to answer the phone. All of these companies just abuse their customers. They don't answer the phone, and it's certainly not just medical companies. When did tech companies somehow become exempt from answering the fucking phone? I mean, I think it should be a law that companies have to have a phone number visible and easy on their website, and they have to answer the phone in 7 minutes. It's just unbelievable. Really less than that. Donald, good information. Okay, hey, thank you. I'm glad you like it. And please press the like button and be sure to subscribe. Okay, 2 years in, why is our government, CDC, and the FDA done nothing to study? I'm not even going to say that word. That word that, I got the stuff here. Bought it on Amazon for like $30. I'm glad I did. Yes, borrowed it from my horse. Okay, so YouTube Nazis removing videos. Yes, they are. Okay, with uncontrolled inflation, it makes sense to buy real estate. Yes, it certainly does. One of our clients was debating. Here's let me tell you the story. This is our client Bruce, okay, and he's in the lumber business, so he knows all about what's going on with the lumber price surges and so forth. And he's been on my podcast before. If you want to hear an insider talk about the lumber industry, listen to my show because Bruce really enlightened a lot of our listeners about that. Okay, so here's the thing he said. He had purchased a few properties from us, and a couple of them were in this one area in Florida, and the price went way up during the time the property was being built, and then he closed and owned it, rented it, and he's still got the property, of course, and it's been just an awesome deal for him. And then he looks at, hey, maybe I'll go back to this same builder in our network and buy another property from them. And he just was really struggling because the price was so much higher. See, now he's a buyer, right? As a seller, he loves it, or not a seller, but an owner, he loves the price is way up. And he doubled down. He went back in and he bought another one of those same properties in that same development because he asked himself one question. He said, is the Fed going to continue to print money? That's the question he asked himself. And the answer was obviously yes. And so he signed the contract and bought another one. So yeah, that's the deal. Okay. No, it doesn't. Uncontrolled. What's this? Okay. I think you're talking to each other here. So Unless you have cash to pay for it or lose your job, that's about the medical care. Okay, some of you are talking to yourself here, and I can't keep up with all those conversations. Okay, so let's see here. When are people going to start buying homes for happiness instead of fear of missing out? Yeah, well, that's a good question. Um, a fair question, Matt. And also stress test regulations. Yeah, that's this dysfunctional market we're in, Matthew. I mean, look, the government is financially repressing everybody, and the central banks, they're they're like this. They're the same thing, right? Basically, and they are pumping all this fake money into the market, and they're driving up prices, and they're simply transferring the wealth from the poor and the middle class to the upper middle class, and certainly to the ultra rich. The wealth transfer is happening quick. Defend yourself by attending our Creating Wealth virtual event. It's coming up in 2 weeks. Get your tickets at jasonhartman.com, and just be sure you're subscribed to my podcast and YouTube channel, because we talk about that stuff all the time. Okay, what is Chicken Charlie say? Non-citizens crossing the border are taking lots of money from the healthcare system. Yes, they sure are, and we are paying for it. And by the way, the Socialist Republic of California, my home state, that fortunately I don't live in anymore. God, I'm glad I got out of there 10 years ago. What a mess. What a mess. California is such a mess. They are enacting their own socialized healthcare. You probably heard about this. And it will cost, the typical Californian household will now have to pay over $12,000 a year in increased taxes to pay for the health care of everybody else in the state who doesn't pay their share. That's the world you live in if you live in the Socialist Republic of California. Get out while you still can. Okay. Matthew says, can we get tickets on your private jet when the shit hits the fan? I want to be in a bunker house. Tell us about. Love your videos. Hey, thank you, Matt. I don't have a private jet. I do have a jet membership that I pay for through one of the private jet companies, but I don't own a jet. I bought two of them. Well, no, one was a Cirrus plane, and the other was a jet, and both of those deals turned into a bit of a disaster for me. So it took me a long time to get back in, but I actually am looking for a plane now, just because I'm concerned like you and want to have that emergency vehicle available. And also, our dysfunctional tax system kind of encourages you to do it, because you can depreciate 100% of the thing in the year you buy it. So that's why I am out looking for a jet again. So many people to talk to. I appreciate you, Jason. Hey, thank you, All Nighter Hider. Yeah, I wish we would have been able to talk at the event a little more. Okay, lumber is going up again. Copper at a 10-year high. Steel up a lot. Yeah, absolutely. And a whole bunch of other things too, Tarek. Just everything. I mean, just the inflation is just everywhere you look. It's absolutely crazy. Matthew says, I'm selling 4 houses here to take a look at purchase immigrant money. Matthew, I would not be exiting the market next year. I think it's still got a couple of years juice in it. There will obviously be a correction, but even though, don't make the mistake of just timing the market in thinking of purchase price, because one of my techniques that, by the way, I must give another plug, that I will be teaching at Creating Wealth Live virtual event, tickets at jasonhartman.com, scrolling across the bottom of your screen, is what I call the 3 dimensions of real estate. And one of the many beautiful things about income property is you can adjust your strategy based on the environment. So when it's not a capital gains environment, you adjust your strategy and you make it a yield-oriented environment, meaning there's upward pressure on your rents when prices adjust. And when people aren't motivated to buy, look, everybody only has 3 choices. They can buy, they can rent, or they can be homeless. And so they're interested in renting, and it puts upward pressure on rents when the buying market cools. Now, there's upward pressure on everything right now. Rents are going through the roof. And by the way, listen to tomorrow's podcast. You'll hear my prediction for prices and rents, an actual specific number this year. And that airs tomorrow on the Creating Wealth podcast. But Yeah, so don't just think of it in terms of prices and trying to time the market, because the market timers have, you know, not won the game in any asset class ever, really. I mean, yes, there's a couple of stories, but whether it be stocks, bonds, real estate, precious metals, cryptocurrencies, whatever, market timing is a fool's errand. Okay, that's not investing. And I'm not saying you're doing it. You may not be thinking that at all, but I'm just saying that that's what people tend to think. Just keep these houses, buy good properties that make sense the day you buy them, and just hang on to them. That's how you get rich with this. Okay. And, you'll increase your yield at the times when prices soften, and you'll increase your gain and your refi till you die potential at the times that prices are booming and increasing. And just keep the properties, buy them, hold them, keep them. Okay. All Nighter Hider is going to Arkansas in September. And yeah, we've got good properties in Little Rock from time to time. So check in with our investment counselors and let them help you with that. Okay. Tons of ways government can fight inflation. Can you speak on that? Yeah, that would be a good topic. And by the way, feel free to let us know your thoughts about that. I mean, the one obvious way, Matt, is they simply just raise rates, they tighten the money supply, and that's how they fight inflation. They just cool the economy off. But yes, it's more nuanced than that. There are other things, and there are regulatory things they can do. But again, those always have the unintended consequences. Okay, how much of your portfolio did you sell last year? 25%. Well, I sold a bunch of my portfolio last year, but I didn't really sell it because I simply did 1031 exchanges and bought other properties. I did reposition my portfolio quite a bit last year, and I've talked about that extensively on the podcast, so won't go into it here. But my net asset value is higher than it was last year. Okay, not lower. So I didn't sell anything in that way, in the aggregate, thinking of it that way. Okay. Berkeley, yes, that's what they call Berkeley. Okay. And by the way, when my mom went there, it wasn't psychotic like it is today. Okay. Oh, I think you're talking to someone else. I thought I answered that question. Okay, but maybe you're okay. Volume was okay. Volume mic is too loud. Turn it down. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, what do we got here? Okay, no incentive for low price purposes. Yeah. Okay, so I'm not exactly sure what you're saying there, but yes, UBI is probably coming, and that'll be in one way or another a corporate welfare program, no question about that. I agree with you, but income property is still the best asset class that I can find. And yes, a lot of people will be renting for a long, long time. Kids do you have? What are you leaving them? I don't have any kids so far. Okay. I would like to have some kids though. Okay. And by the way, I would not leave your kids a ton of money if they're young. Okay. If they're older and they can handle it and they've proven that they can handle money, then that's fine. But yeah. Yeah. Well, sure, Tarek. I agree. They want to. It's probably not incompetence. I mean, they're look at this whole recent thing. The past couple of years has checked every box for tyrannical dictators. They get to do whatever they want now, and it's really quite sad. It really is. Okay, folks, I got to wrap it up here soon. Stress test at 7%. Say goodbye to the real estate market. Well, yeah, but what would happen? Like I was talking about before. I'm glad you brought that up. If interest rates went to 7%, okay, the market would stop climbing like it's doing. It would probably go down, right? But maybe it wouldn't go down, because two big things are going to happen. Number one, everybody with a cheap 30-year mortgage is not going to let it go. So where's the supply going to come from? Tell me where the supply comes from, right? That's the first thing. But number two, everybody that's now renting will be forced to stay in the renter pool. They won't be able to buy, and they're going to be stuck renting. So the rental demand is actually going to increase, and you're going to be able to push your rents up. This is part of the 3 dimensions of real estate and why you need to register for our Creating Wealth Live virtual event coming up in less than 2 weeks at jasonhartman.com. So go get your tickets. Okay. Yeah. Well, the move thing, I've talked about how there's 2 concentric moves. I've made that prediction. And the second great American migration is yet to come. Mark my words on that one. I have talked about that before on the podcast. So be sure you're subscribed. And, I can take a lot of these questions when we have more time at the Creating Wealth event. Okay. So interest rates. Okay, folks, this interest rate thing, eclectic, it's the same thing I was saying before. What people aren't thinking about is all the people with the cheap mortgages that are just simply going to hoard those cheap mortgages because they can't be replaced. If rates go up, those cheap mortgages become even more valuable. They're not going to sell their house. Okay, they're going to keep those mortgages if they have to beg, borrow, and steal, if they have to take on roommates, if they have to do whatever, okay, they are not going to let go of those cheap mortgages. Those cheap mortgages become extremely valuable when mortgage rates go up. And then, of course, rental demand increases. All right, folks, I'm not feeling so great, so I got to go. Let me see, Matthew. Love your Palm Coast. Yeah, we've got some good Palm Coast properties. And okay, folks, these are great questions. You got so many great comments here. I really appreciate it. But I'm just not feeling so great, so I gotta rest. And I got really passionate there, and so that feels like it took a little of my energy. But yeah, I will read all of these, and all of these kind of go into the mix and become things that we answer on future YouTube videos and on the podcast, and of course at our live events and so forth. So appreciate all of you joining me today. Happy investing. One thing I want to say is that whenever I get sick, like even just with a cold or flu, and I think, oh, it's so miserable, right? I think, when I feel good again, and that's usually only a few days later, I am going to be so grateful. And then, I'm just a human just like you. I kind of forget to be grateful, right? I just go about my business and get busy with life. And, just remember to be so grateful for your health. Whatever degree of health you have, be grateful for it, and it differs for everybody. And just be grateful. Take care of yourself and stop shaking hands. Okay. And maybe have some of this stuff that you can get from your horse on hand if you need it. And anyway, everybody, be well and take care, and hope to see you on the podcast tomorrow, because we got the full length version of my speech. And we will hopefully see you there. All right, everybody, happy investing, and over and out for now. See you later.